From Studio 300 on Cal Poly's campus, you're watching Cptv.
Today on Cptv, we'll analyze some of the important issues of the election. We have an expert in the studio to offer analysis of the results.
We'll take a look at some of the challenges facing President Obama.
And we'll talk about Mustang sports. Thanks for joining us for a special edition of Cptv. We are wrapping up our election coverage, looking at how the results affect Cal Poly students. I'm Armando Garcia with Christina Favuzzi and Brandon Jones.
We're bringing you analysis of this week's election with Cal Poly political science professor Michael Latner.
Well, let's start with Prop 30, the governor's initiative to raise taxes to fund public education. Prop 30 won with 53% of the votes in favor of the initiative. The proposition will help the CSU system balance the budget this academic year. The administration would have to cut $14.5 million from the Cal Poly budget if the proposition failed. Instead, full-time undergraduate students should get a $166 credit to their student accounts. Cal Poly President Jeffrey Armstrong said some of the benefits of Prop 30 include canceling this year's CSU tuition increase and providing an opportunity for growth at Cal Poly. Professor Latner, thanks for joining us today in the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, California has seen a lot of tax increases over the years for education, and yet we're still 47th in this nation in education. Do you think Proposition 30 is going to help us help education start to improve, or do you will it simply prevent us from sliding further down the scale?
Well, it doesn't replace the millions that have been taken out of the CSU and UC systems over the last 5 years. The education system as a whole, from K through 12 all the way up to the UC system, has taken a big cut as part of the more general budget cuts, but it certainly helps to backfill in some of the losses, and it gets us back on the right track.
Great, thank you.
Well, now we'll move to voter turnout. There were a lot of students who waited in long lines on Tuesday to vote. Almost 2,000 people voted at one of the polling places at Zion Evangelical Lutheran Church in San Luis Obispo. Poll workers tell us that voters here were mostly students, likely because many of the propositions directly affected education. Almost 500 of the voters here used provisional ballots, which take longer to fill out. Provisional ballots are used when voters register too late or have changed addresses in the past year. Now, Professor Latner, California usually swings blue. Is this why we didn't see as many get out the vote efforts by Republican campaigns, whether it was for Romney or even locally for Maldonado?
Sure, California hasn't been competitive in the presidential races for quite some time, but you do get local get out the vote efforts, and so in San Luis Obispo County in particular, the Capps-Maldonado race was one of the most competitive in the country, and you had organizations from outside of the state pouring millions of dollars into that campaign. So there was a lot of micro-targeting of voters. If you're a registered voter, you almost certainly received several phone calls, sometimes several times a day. So they worked very very hard on getting those voters out.
All right, thank you so much. And now we'll move to Proposition 34.
Voters said no to Prop 34, which means that the death penalty is still in place in California. Prop 34 was defeated in the election with almost 53% of voters against it. If it passed, death row prisoners would have been given life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. An additional $100 million would have been used to help solve sexual assault and homicide cases. So, Mr. Latner, is it surprising that Prop 34 was declined in a state as liberal as California? And don't you think it would have saved us some money in the long run, seeing as we spend $90 million on capital punishment each year?
Sure, there's no question that it would have saved money. It costs about $1 million a year to keep a prisoner on death row, compared to about $50,000 a year to put someone in jail for life without the possibility of parole. But the demographics in California are changing, and culture is changing. California 10, 15 years ago was overwhelmingly in favor of the death penalty. That's been changing a lot. So we're not quite there yet, but you can sort of see the writing on the wall. What is most interesting about this campaign is that it was propagated as an economic issue, right? It's on the ballot during a time of budgetary cuts, not as a moral issue. And so I think one of the reasons why it received as much support as it did was because people were looking at it from a budgetary perspective, but overall it's still a moral question.
Thank you. Let's move on to the electoral vote count.
Yeah, well, President Obama was reelected for a second term, and with 326 electoral college votes. Former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney won 206. There was speculation that Romney would win the popular vote without winning the Electoral College, and last time that happened was in 2000 when George W. Bush won the electoral vote and Al Gore won the popular vote. Americans don't directly elect their president. In order to win, a candidate must receive 270 Electoral College votes.
Right.
Why do we use this system instead of a direct democracy, and what are some of the benefits and downsides of it?
Well, we are the only country in the world that uses this form of indirect election to elect our executive. Finland used to have an electoral college, but they got rid of it. It's basically a piece of architecture left over from our Constitution. It was one of the last things that was decided at the Constitutional Convention. There was a lot of debate about how we should be choosing our executive, whether it was more of a parliamentary system that Madison favored, or a direct election or indirect election from the state legislatures. And so there have been a number of attempts to reform or abolish the Electoral College, but the way that it sets up political power, it advantages the small states. And so you're never going to get it taken out through the Senate, which is what would be required for a constitutional amendment. And the only way that you'll get around it is actually a sort of interstate commerce agreement, whereby states that control enough electoral votes decide to give all of their electors to the winner of the popular vote. And that's one method that has been gaining progress over recent years.
That's really interesting. Thank you.
Now we'll move to Proposition 37. Voters said no to a prop that would require companies to label genetically modified food. Prop 37 failed with 53% voting no. It was referred to as the California Right to Know Genetically Engineered Food Act. Opponents of the measure argued it would cost Californians more at the grocery store. Supporters of Prop 37 are now turning their focus toward Washington and Oregon, where they hope to pass a similar initiative. A lot of people were surprised that Proposition 37 didn't pass, especially in a liberal state. Was that because there was confusion about what would be labeled genetically modified and what wouldn't be, or was it because people really didn't want to pay more at the grocery store?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both, actually. When you look at the early polling, there was substantial support for it, as you might imagine, in California, which is big on environmental and natural foods. But two things, I think, impeded its passage. One, in these sorts of budgetary climates, anything that is perceived as a tax measure is going to be tough to pass. But second, I think the opposition had a very well-organized campaign where they introduced doubt in voters' minds. And the commercials with the professor from Stanford and the other ads made it appear as though the food choices were fairly arbitrary in terms of what was going to require labeling. And so anytime that you can introduce doubt into voters' minds, they're more likely to vote an initiative down.
All right, thank you. That's a really interesting point.
Now we have a Facebook question from a Facebook viewer, Garrett Beisch. The presidency, House, and Senate all stayed within the current party. Some more polarizing Senate candidates lost, like Aiken and Murdoch. But you can argue that senators like Warren on the other side will simply replace their partisan nature. Do you think the urgency to get reform passed in areas like immigration, fiscal cliff, etc., will force Congress to work together?
Sure. So after $6 billion being spent, essentially nothing changes in terms of the dynamics of power, right? That's a little bit of a pessimistic takeaway from the election. On the other hand, while President Obama's popular vote victory was not a mandate by any stretch of the imagination, the country's basically split 50-50. It was a commanding electoral win, and it showed that their campaign definitely was better organized than the Romney campaign. In terms of what goes on over the next few months and years, there's going to be very strong pressure for leaders in both parties to compromise. And even though the Tea Party and other conservative movements within the Republican Party have damaged the party, I think that there's no way you can come away from any other conclusion. In 2010, they lost several seats in the Senate that should have gone to the Republicans because of Tea Party candidates that lost, and the same thing happened this year. And so the Republicans should control the Senate right now, but they don't because of the polarization on their side of the party. That being said, Congress is no less polarized than it was before the election, and so it's going to be tough to get anything done. But I think you're going to see tremendous pressure for President Obama, for one, to use his power to get rid of, to reform Social Security, Medicare. He's going to lose Democratic votes on that, but he's going to gain votes among Republicans. Similarly, Speaker Boehner has got to get his party to favor some sort of tax revenue. He's going to lose a lot of votes on that, but he'll be able to build a true coalition in the House with the help of Democrats.
Okay,
Thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you so much. And coming up next on Cptv, we'll take a look at the presidential and mayoral elections.
And we'll tell you about some events coming to campus. All this and more after the break.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him opening his own clothing store at the age of 18? 1 in 138,000. Excited to be a part of pop culture, he packed for the big city. The odds of finding someone to invest in his vision? 1 in 4.5 million. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Get your ass in suit. You're not sitting here. Yes, I am. Move. Give it to him hard. No.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Why are you stabbing me with it? No.
They want to help,
Ow.
but don't know how.
Oh, you got
Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit Stop.
Know what?
What?
Since I got adopted, I've learned a lot about these.
Welcome back to Cptv. We're going to continue with our election recap coverage. Democrat Lois Capps has been reelected for the 24th Congressional District. Capps received 55% of the votes in the county, with Republican Abel Maldonado at 45%. Throughout the campaign, the candidates ran attack ads and discrediting each other's character. This congressional race was one of the most competitive in the country. The 24th District includes all of Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo communities, with a small portion of Ventura County. According to the Capps campaign website, she plans on investing in clean energy and supporting small business through tax incentives.
Mayor Jan Marks was re-elected as the mayor of San Luis Obispo. She had a party at Big Sky on Tuesday night as she awaited the final results of the mayoral race as she looked for re-election. I had a chance to talk to her about her plans for her second term as San Luis Obispo mayor. Mayor candidate Jan Marks, how are you feeling tonight? What is the atmosphere like here at Big Sky, and how are you feeling as the numbers are coming in?
Very good. Thank you very much. It's looking very positive. So right now I've got 65% of the mail-in votes, and I'm hoping that the poll voters will also follow suit.
And what are your plans for the second term? Now you have 2 years of experience in this role, and how will that shape your decisions in the next 2 years?
Well, I've learned how to do the job, which is a big deal. I'm very much interested in continuing to reach out to the students and also to make sure that we update our land use and circulation element update in such a way that it really reflects the people who are going to be raising families and having jobs in the year 2035. That's very important to me.
Mayor Marks won the race with 63% of the votes, defeating her opponents Steve Barish and John Hedrick.
Well, the other candidate for mayor of San Luis Obispo, Steve Barish, also held his election night party on Tuesday at the Lamplighter Inn. After the polls closed, community members came out to support and celebrate the conclusion of Barish's campaign. Barish and his supporters gathered around the TV in the hotel lobby to watch local coverage of the election. About 25 to 30 Barish supporters showed up at the event.
From my perspective, accountability in San Luis means that you take responsibility for your actions. You stop making excuses why things don't get done. You turn things around and get them done.
Because he would increase accountability within all departments of the city.
President Barack Obama will be back in the Oval Office for 4 more years. Obama had 303 electoral votes compared to Republican Mitt Romney's 326. President Obama also won the popular vote. He won 6 swing states, including Florida, on his way to being re-elected. One of the president's first priorities is to cut down the deficit. Washington has until January to balance budget, or else across-the-board trigger cuts and a tax increase will automatically go into effect.
San Luis Obispo and Cal Poly Democrats attended an election party at the Graduate on Tuesday, receiving the news that Barack Obama was re-elected as the President of the United States. Cheers broke out as Obama took the lead in the electoral vote count.
Ecstatic. Absolutely ecstatic. Like, as soon as we heard it, everybody started screaming, and I was like crying a little bit, and it was just like, thank God, so long, we've been waiting. People were really happy with the things he pushed through, healthcare, women's rights, and especially during the campaign, I think it was pretty obvious that there were large discrepancies between the candidates, and people just didn't feel comfortable with the Romney alternative.
With the next 4 years in the president's hands again, supporters are looking forward to see what President Obama will take country in the next 4 years. As the electoral votes rolled in on Tuesday, downtown San Luis Obispo took part in the excitement. Slow Brew was holding their weekly pint night, and some students dressed in red, white, and blue. People could be seen on their phones checking the results while they walked between bars. There were mixed reactions when Obama gained 270 electoral votes, the amount needed to win the election.
I just read that before I left that Romney said he didn't write a concession speech because he was feeling confident, so he better write one pretty quick.
Didn't last long. Most people just ordered another beer.
Cal Poly hosted another blood drive this week. United Blood Services was back with their bus on Monday. The organization offers a convenient way for students to donate blood, which is always in short supply. The bus can accept up to 6 people at a time. They also have a machine designed to take 2 units of the red blood cells. In September, the Red Cross reported their lowest blood supply in 15 years. In the wake of Hurricane Sandy, these supplies were stretched even thinner. United Blood Services enjoys going to Cal Poly because of the high student turnout. And coming up next on Cptv, we will have your weather update. Hear what you need to be prepared for this holiday weekend.
So, Malcolm, you do know that energy savers last 6 times longer than ordinary light bulbs.
This isn't my room. It's Baron Davis's.
Baron Davis, the basketball player? This is his room?
Yep.
Interesting, because we have Baron Davis right here. Baron, do you live here?
No.
I don't mean that, Baron Davis.
Millions of kids are using their energy wisely. What's your excuse?
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education.
Right up here.
So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour
Lights there, darks there.
to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Find out how you can live United for education. Give, advocate, volunteer. Go to liveunited.org.
Do you wear this?
Aprender a brincar 6 escalones toma determinación. También toma determinación entrar a la universidad. Yo tengo lo que se necesita. Tú también lo tienes.
Well, welcome back to CPTV. It's time for our weekend weather update.
We have Ariel Plavnik joining us in the studio today. Ariel, what can we expect this next week?
Thanks, guys. It's going to be really chilly this week, so be sure to have your umbrella and your jacket ready. Today, there's a high chance of rain and possibly even thunderstorms. That would be really exciting for me because I've only been involved in like 2 thunderstorms in my life. It'll be mostly cloudy with winds around 10 to 15 miles per hour. This is definitely the day to stay inside, bundle up, and make some hot cocoa. Now, let's look to our weather shot. Here we have a great shot of the P, and even though it's sunny, you can still see the silver gray rain clouds starting to roll in. Also, if you look to the leaves over here, you can see the wind really starting to pick up. Strong winds will be a trend in weather this week, with gusts getting as high as 25 miles per hour on Saturday night. Let's go to our 5-day forecast. Today is brisk with a high of 59 degrees and a low of 41 degrees. Saturday will be partly sunny with a slight chance of rain in the morning. The high will be 60 degrees and the low will be 38 degrees. Veterans Day brings us some relief with partly clear skies and a high of 66 degrees. However, the low stays stagnant at 41 degrees. Monday should be great all around. Not only is it a day off, but we also have the best temperatures of the week, with a high of 74 degrees and a low of 46 degrees. These great temperatures roll into Tuesday as well, with a high of 74 again and a low of 50. Despite the warmth, there's still a slight chance of rain. And based on the forecast, what my roommates and I will be doing this Veterans Day weekend will be lighting up the fireplace and watching some Anchorman. I hope this prepares you for your Veterans Day weekend. Back to you on the newsroom.
The rain will definitely be a nice change of pace this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully it actually starts feeling like fall. Every weekend we tell you guys to go hit the beach or go out hiking. Might actually have to stay inside this weekend, although Armando, I know you're going to be out hiking.
Absolutely.
Well, coming up on Cptv, we'll take a look at how the men's soccer team has had the best season in program history.
Football is looking to bounce back at home this weekend.
And both men and women's basketball teams start their season.
Today is Saturday. Today is Saturday. Salad on Saturday, fruit on Friday, bubble ball Thursday, water Wednesday, touch your toes Tuesday. Let's move Monday, swap us next Sunday. All the healthy children eat well and move a lot, and move a lot, and move a lot. Eat well and move a lot.
60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day.
Skip a rope Saturday, freeze tag Friday, tap dance Thursday, whole grains Wednesday, try a veggie Tuesday. Let's move Monday, split the sweet Sunday.
Eat well and move a lot.
Today is Saturday. Today is Saturday.
All the healthy children, all the healthy children. Get ideas. Get involved. Get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
I know a place that's peaceful and quiet, a place where animals play. It's called the forest, but every year we start forest fires. A careless match or cigarette and poof, fire. So the next time you're in the forest, be extra careful, okay?
If you knew it was me, would you have listened?
Welcome back to Cptv. We have reporter David Aguilar in the studio with us to give us an update on Mustang sports. What's going on this
How are
week?
the Mustangs doing, David?
Yeah, so football's wrapping up, and then basketball starting again here at Cal Poly, so should be some interesting times at Mott Gym this season. So let's get to our sports update for today. So the Cal Poly men's soccer season came to an end Wednesday night at Cal State Northridge. The Mustangs finished as a runner-up in the Big West North Division standings with an overall 11-7-1 record. Despite the loss, Cal Poly still had one of the best seasons in program history by matching a season record for overall victories. The Mustangs also swept UCSB this season for the first time in over 14 years. Junior forward Mackenzie Pridham was named the Big West Offensive Player of the Year with 11 goals on the season. Pridham is the first ever Cal Poly men's soccer player to receive this selection. The Mustangs had 5 other players who also earned Big West praise.
It's a special year with this new style of play, and we're a young team, so this program has a huge, it's a bright future for us here. So I think that with our style of play, we can beat anyone.
The Mustangs will return 9 of their 11 starters next season. The Cal Poly football team is looking to turn around their 2-game losing streak at home this Saturday. Cal Poly started the season by winning their first 7 games, but they have stumbled on the road as of late. The Mustangs face the Idaho State Bengals on Saturday at Spano Stadium. The 19th-ranked Mustangs have an overall record of 7-2. You can watch the Mustangs in their last home game of the season on KSVY TV. Kickoff is at 6:05 p.m. The Cal Poly women's basketball team opens their season today at Oklahoma State. This will be the first time in history that these two teams have faced off. Oklahoma State is ranked 24th in the preseason poll. The Mustangs will be taking on the highly ranked Cowgirls after coming off a back-to-back Big West regular season championships. The Mustangs graduated 3 key players last year, including the school's all-time leading scorer and rebounder, Christina Santiago. After taking on Oklahoma State, the Mustangs will travel to face the University of Oregon on Monday night. Also, the Cal Poly men's basketball team starts the season today at 4 p.m. at Texas Christian University. The Mustangs return two starters and 6-letter winners from last season squad. Some key returners include senior guard Dylan Royer, who finished 5th in the three-point percentage among Division I players last year. Also back in the lineup is senior guard Chris O'Brien, who redshirted last season due to a knee injury. The Mustangs are ranked 7th in the Big West media poll and are looking to build off the 18-15 record from last season. That's going to do it for our sports update for this week. Game on Saturday should be great. Hopefully you guys make it out there and support the Mustangs.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Well, we'll be back in just a minute with your Pollywood Minute, so just stay tuned.
Thank you.
My dad's one of the producers for Saturday Night. Bring this week.
Este es un increíble árbol de trúfula. ¿Te imaginas un lugar donde crecen por todos lados? Sí, se llama bosque. Un lugar mágico para disfrutar con toda tu familia. Descubre el bosque y explora todas las maravillas dentro de él. Para encontrar un bosque cerca de ti, visita descubreelbosque.org.
Welcome back to CPTV. Reporter Olivia Bickles here with all of our latest entertainment news. She's got your Pollywood Minute.
What kind of events are coming to Cal Poly this week?
Well, first of all, internationally acclaimed poet Lorna D. Cervantes performed at another type of groove on Wednesday night. Cervantes is part Chumash Indian, and she was invited to speak on her culture to celebrate Native American Heritage Month. Several Cal Poly students and even a SLO high school student also shared their own poems during the open mic segment of the night. Topics ranged from backstabbing friends to what it's like being black on our campus. The Multicultural Center puts on another type of groove, also known as ATOG, every month. It's a free event held in Chumash Auditorium. Wednesday was the last ATOG of the year, but there will be another one on February 6th for those of you who missed it. Well, Cal Poly's Theater and Dance Department premiered their new play, God's Ear, last night. God's Ear is about how a family reacts to the death of their son. Some of the characters, like the Tooth Fairy, add some comic relief and help the family heal. Apart from the performance, there will be a free art exhibit backstage before and after the show. God's Ear is playing in Spanos Theater both this weekend and next weekend, Thursday through Saturday at 8 p.m. Tickets are $15 for general admission and $12 for students and seniors. For reservations, call 805-756-2787. And Mustang Lanes is hosting a bowl-a-thon to raise money for the Special Olympics. The fundraiser is this Saturday from noon to 4 p.m. and the entry fee and minimum donation is $20. This includes 1.5 hours of bowling and your shoe rental. Mustang Lanes will also have refreshments, snacks, music, and games. Cal Poly's Parks and Recreation Department is teaming up with the Special Olympics to plan this event. For a registration form, you can email San Luis Obispo at sosc.org.
Wow, great. Thanks, Olivia. That sounds like some really interesting stuff going on. We were raising some money for some charitable causes. That's really cool.
It's really cool that our own department is working with an organization as big as the Special Olympics to do that, too. So.
Definitely. I definitely want to stop by Mustang Lanes and see how that event turns out. It's such a great cause.
Definitely.
Well, PolyReps is recruiting students to become the newest university ambassadors, and they've found a fun way to do it. That's right. They have gone Gangnam Style.
Oppan Gangnam Style.
PolyReps is a voluntary public relation organization on Cal Poly's campus of Cal Poly students who help to promote the school.
You can find the link to apply on our website, www.mustangdaily.net/CPTV.
That's going to do it for this week on CPTV. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.